You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. Yes, a YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Try to run this play in the alley.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Joining alongside Tim, live in Green Bay. We got a special guest here tonight. Look at this right here, ladies and gentlemen. Emilio, tell the good folks where you're at tonight, brother.
Oh, you know where we're at, folks. We are in IO. Where are we at? 13. Got compressors, air tools, tie downs, garage station. You know what that means? Pack out, folks.
Gotta have it.
You're missing out.
You can't step on the job site without it, man.
All right, I'm heading home.
All right, we'll see you in a minute, man. People on the podcast, Tim, they're like, what in the hell is going on right now? I can't see what they're talking about, but
I saw those orange shelves, Clayton. I knew right away where he was.
For those of you listening on the pod, Emilio is at Home Depot hanging out. It's funny. He jumped on here.
On the pod.
And of course, Tim, right on the screen, his name was I Climbed the Wall. I was like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. That is his screen name. So some of you guys are going, y'all are not politically correct. Oh, we know. Hang around. It gets worse.
True international average of pressure.
Tim's got a new toy over there on the soundboard this evening. So
I saw it. I don't know. I think I do a better one than he does.
I think you do too, to be honest. But you sound more like him than he does. You know? And I understand that may upset some people. Listen, we've got Trump quotes too. We'll get a Trump soundboard. God knows he's got plenty of those as well. So just a wild time here in the great United States. Tim, how was your day, man?
Man, great. Got a big face cord of wood stacked up today. You know, got the fire pit going, cut the grass. It's like 70 degrees. It's beautiful up here, man.
Earned the right to talk some ball, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah, same here, man. Get the work week done early. So ready for the weekend. I got 2 racks of ribs ready to go for Sunday. Tomorrow we're going to do sirloin steak. My brother, you guys know, appreciate all the prayers and everything. He's coming up tomorrow to visit, so we're going to spend the weekend together, have a good time. It's going to be awesome, man. But,
nice. You know, you got to fire up the smoker and the grill, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. There's going to be a cow shortage here in Washington County, Tennessee. I promise you that, man. We're going to be smoking so much dead animal, it ain't even funny. So
love it.
I'll tell you what else ain't funny, Tim. That's so Tim. What I thought we would do today, man. I was listening to some pods, and it was a fascinating conversation. I know I sent you guys this in the text message there on the group thread, and really interesting. Like one of the topics that Jason Wilde talked about, I think it was on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. He was a guest. They have kind of a weekly spot with him. And one of the things he talked about was Christian Watson and how much Matt LaFleur, he said he was having a conversation with Matt LaFleur, and Matt LaFleur said, yeah, he's extremely bright. He kept harping on the fact of how smart Christian Watson is. And he did mention something I didn't know either. Christian Watson actually scored a 38 on the Wonderlic test, which is just like phenomenal, man. So for a wide receiver to be that, score that high on the Wonderlic, and he went on to say that Matt LaFleur just pointed out how Christian Watson picks things up so quickly, he can pretty much line up anywhere, at the wide receiver position. He can play every spot, and nothing's too big for him. I thought that was a really interesting conversation. So that kind of sparked me to go, okay, why don't we dig into some of the numbers here? And in the meantime, why don't we throw up a poll question as well? So the poll question I put on Twitter was, I said, poll question for tonight's show, Packers fans, who would you choose to re-sign at $20 million per year? Both become free agents the same year, meaning 2 years from now, right? And I put Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, or neither. That's too much. And right now, neither that's too much is leading the way. We've got 161 votes so far within like the first few minutes, which is really cool. 44.7% say, no, that's too much for either of them. 28.6% is Romeo Doubs, and 26.7% is Christian Watson. So, man, it was for the longest time, too, I was watching it as we cracked like 140 votes. They literally were the same percentage, Tim. I mean, that's a real close race there. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about here lately, how, like I said the other night, I'm starting to lean toward Romeo Doubs. And it seems like Twitter agrees as it sits right now. But I got to be real. If I had to choose one of these three options, I would choose neither. That's too much as well, based off the body of work we have right now. That could all change, of course, because, you get a whole nother season under your belt there with those two guys. Who knows? The sky's the limit, right? But what do you think there? How would you vote on that one right there particularly?
I voted for Rome, so I'm not keeping it a secret. I voted for Rome. But I think really what this does is it's the writing on the wall, right? The likelihood that we keep both of these guys going forward is tough. pretty tough. I would love a scenario where they both are like, oh yeah, we'll take a little less money, we'll both stay. But let's be real here. If we can keep one, we're doing okay. And I'm leaning. I love both of these guys. Don't get me wrong, but I'm leaning towards Rome. I feel like we've got dynamic pass catchers. In Bo Melton, Tay Wicks, Jaden Reed, Malik Heath coming up. Grant DuBose, I'm going to say his name again. Yes, Grant DuBose. For those of you who have forgotten about Grant DuBose, that dude's on the come up too. So there's a lot of dynamic pass catchers in this receiver room. So a guy like Christian Watson, if he's going to be able to go, get that $25-30 million a year contract somewhere, you almost got to just let him do his thing and let him go. And, you keep Rome and, the talent pool that you have. But Scoot is, he's not replaceable. Just like we talked about when Tay left, you don't really replace Devontae. You just take a different approach, and you see what we're doing right now, receiver by committee. Yep. No bona fide number one. But, Scoot could go to, probably 20 teams in the NFL and be a bona fide number one receiver, at least the way I see it right now. I've heard some people disagree. I've heard people say that he's not a number one, but hey man, he's a field stretcher. He's got good hands. He's fast. If anyone's going to get that 20 mil plus, it's probably Christian Watson. So I voted for Rome. I'd rather keep Rome and let Scoot go get his money. Yeah. And,
of course, I dig into this stuff really deep and probably too deep. And I understand that sometimes these polls irk people. That's not the goal. I'm not trying to manufacture what they say farm, what do they call it? What do they call it on Twitter when you're farm engagement farming? I'm not trying to do that. I'm simply trying to test the pulse of Packer fans and go, okay, how is nobody cares what I think. What does the Packer fans as a whole think, right? And that was the whole goal of putting that up there, and just to kind of see how everybody felt about it. And I'm with you, man. It's tough. At the same time, it's like, when you got to look at what's behind them, right? And if you could put another option up on that Twitter poll and say, Option number 4 being, you can get the same amount of production out of a cheaper receiver core that's already on the roster and not signed either. I think everybody would take that. They go, heck yeah, sounds good. Obviously, there's no guarantee there. We don't know if someone's going to step back. God knows you never know about injuries as well. There's a lot of things that can happen as time goes on. But I don't know. I just thought it was just interesting to kind of dive into. And when you talk about where they actually line up, I did a deep dive this afternoon on where these guys lined up and how successful they were, I should say, at where they lined up in the slot, lined up out wide, all that stuff. We'll get into it. Let's go to the chat real quick, though. Ron Samville in the chat says, Watson does come across as intelligent. I completely agree. He's one of those guys, too, Tim. He seems like he has a high social IQ, and that's huge in the locker room. You could just tell he doesn't take himself too serious. When he's talking to the media, I think he won that award. I can't remember. What's it called? The Molly Award or whatever it is, where the media gives out a couple of awards every year to the players who are like the most engaging with the media, like professionalism. I'm pretty sure he won that. And even in a year where he was battling injuries, like Jason Wilde pointed out earlier today, like when you're injured, the last thing you want to do is answer questions. You don't want to get in front of me at all. And the fact that he went out there and did that, he being Christian Watson, is huge. But I would have to lean Romeo Doubs myself if I had to pick between the two. But again, this is kind of fast forwarding a couple of years, right? And that's the whole purpose of putting it on there. I was trying to see, okay, where we're at right now, we test the pulse of Packer Nation. And now as we move forward, we can go, okay, now what kind of year did they have after that? You'll kind of have an idea of, okay, here's how Packer fans see it. But let's see what we got here. Angus McHaggis says, too soon to tell. I completely understand. Again, and someone else was asking, are you talking about right now or later? When? I'm saying based off of the work we have right now, if this was the last year on their deal, who would you rather sign? Is basically what the question. No matter how you word the question, Tim, on Twitter, someone's going to pick it apart. Not that he is, but just, you know how people are. They're, well, give me more details. Well, I can't. They limited my characters. I can't. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do.
Give me more of that true international pressure.
Exactly. Ron Sample says, nah, I'd sign either of them, just not both. And I think that's fair. I think that's what the poll is saying, right? If you had to choose between the two, it's pretty split. You can't sign them both at $20 million. I mean, you can, but it's going to eat up quite a bit of cap. Again, just the thing that catches my attention is the thought of, okay, let them go test free agency, and if the bid gets too high, great, you'll get comp picks, which I think someone goes on to say here in a second. And you've got Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, potentially Bo Melton, maybe Malik Heath. You still feel good about the receiver core. You're not tying up a whole lot of cap space, and you're good to go. But, yeah, I agree with that, Ron. M. Smitty in the chat says, voted Watson. All right, so he's team Christian Watson. You guys notice there's not a wrong answer here. This isn't a gotcha, you're wrong, right? It's questions to kind of spark conversation, and then we can go and deep dive and go, okay, what do the numbers say? Angus McHaggis says, whichever one you don't sign will return a nice comp pick. That's what we were talking about, Tim. That's another layer there, and Lord knows, based off of the past, man, Goody knows how to work those comp picks, don't he?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. With other organizations, getting a pick is not necessarily anything to get super excited about because you probably have a GM that's going to, screw it off anyway. We have a legit GM. So, look at this last draft. Look at the comp picks we had in the Rodgers deal. Look what he did with the Rasul Douglas pick. I kind of was a little hard on Goody for trading Rasul for a draft pick and a bag of footballs or whatever.
I was too.
But look what he did, So you give a guy like Goody that ammo, and he's gonna be on target with it. So yeah, a comp pick. You lose one of these guys, but you get a comp pick. Hey, we'll turn it into another monster, either side of the ball. So I have full faith in our front office to do the right thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And let's see here. We got a question that just came in. I'm going to hit here in just a second because I actually just pulled up the contracts. Let's go through the chat a little bit more here, though. Greg Rice says, if you mean now, neither, but I would rather Doubs because of durability in his third down and red zone catches. It's funny you mentioned that, too, because great minds think alike, Greg. And I hate to hear that you're down right now, man. Physically, hopefully you get better soon, bub. Appreciate you hanging out with us. I immediately said, you know what? A cluster buster for me is third down. When when you got to get it done, who's the receiver that's showing up right on those third down conversions? And maybe even the fourth quarter, I didn't dive that deep, but I did pull some third down numbers, which is kind of cool. So
especially third and we can't run, right? Third and 4, third and 5, third and 7. Doubs is your guy all day.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So here we go. Ron Sample says, how many receivers are 20 or more in the NFL? So what I did, Tim, I went ahead and pulled this up, and I'm going to try to adjust it to where we can see it a lot better. If you guys will bear with me here, let's see if we can close this thing in just a touch.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Neither, or a tech genius either, right? I'm saying from that. Let's see if we can get this. Here we go. All right. So this
Here we go.
NFL. And let's go by, I wanted to go by cap hit if we could find it here. Where is this at? They usually give you an option to go by cap, but it doesn't look like they're going to. Average would probably be the closest thing. Let's do that. Let's go average, because that's essentially what we're talking about, right? Average per year. So the question is, how many receivers are 20 or more in the NFL, 20 million or more per year on average? Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith, Nico Collins. Remember that name, Nico Collins, because that's a name that showed up on some of the stats as well earlier. So Nico Collins, DK Metcalf, 24 million, Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman Jr., Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin. So you've got, gosh, those are tied right there, but that's all right. That's
such a great question by Ron here.
It is, man. 21.
Awesome.
Yep. So now you got to ask yourself, is Christian Watson and or Romeo Doubs in the top 20 of wide receivers in the league? I can't say either of them are. I don't think they are. Again, I've said for a long time now, Tim, I feel like they're both really good number twos. That's in my opinion. When I say number two, I'm not talking about a true number one wide receiver. I mean, they grade out with the metrics that I think are important. They grade out somewhere, between 32 and 50 in the league, right? So
there's a few guys on this list though that are, they're living off, rep. Calvin Ridley's 29 years old. He's getting 23 mil, right? His best years were in Atlanta.
Definitely.
You got Stephon Diggs now on his third team at 30 years old. And that's to take nothing away from Stephon Diggs, top tier receiver for sure. But, he's still living off that, 2019, 2020 buzz.
Yeah. And 30 years old, too.
And 30 years old, right? Mike Evans is another one, but that's a guy that deserves every single nickel that he gets.
I agree.
Mike Evans is an absolute if you want to look up consistency at the wide receiver position, yep, Mike Evans will be the photo you see in the dictionary next to consistency.
I heard on one pod 10, somebody was discussing, is Mike Evans a Hall of Famer? I rolled my eyes. Then they started talking the resume, and I was like, holy cow. I think
he's never not had a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, and he's got the Super Bowl ring.
Yep.
And it's like, this dude's a Hall of Famer, I'm pretty sure.
Hands down. Amari Cooper, too, and another great talent in that kind of that range, right? A little bit older than Rome and Scoot. But, yep, another one of those guys that, I think he's worth the 20 mil. But, I mean, there's guys on this list that I feel like Scoot and Rome can, they can compete with for sure. And if they're not, if the argument is they're not in that top 20 range, then they're 21 or 22 or 23. Like they're in the conversation. Like I said, I see a handful of names here that, I could easily remove and put Rome or Scoot up there. So,
yeah. Definitely. We got Emilio joining us now. Emilio, you just jump in whenever you want, but we're just talking receivers here. Ron Sample asked a great question. As the poll question tonight is, if you had to choose between Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, which one would you pay $20 million on average per year? And you could also choose neither. That's too much for both of them. So, if you want to think about your take, that's cool. We'll keep going.
I mean, I think I was kind of with Tim when I was listening, more on Doubs, just because Jordan Love, they have that chemistry and everything. But honestly, the reason why we're talking about this is because of Jordan Love. The only reason that they're getting these number one and, that kind of money looks is because of him. The only reason that, Tay Wicks, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave all look good is because of Jordan Love. Yeah. So, I mean, if they realize that, then let's ride it out a little bit cheaper. But, you see the Bears on there with two people over 20 million. It's not unfeasible to do. You can make that happen. But again, I feel like it's more a percentage of the cap rather than 20 million on a number. Because, once Jordan takes up 15 to 25% of the cap, Deshaun's at about 25%, I believe. And so I would think Jordan's going to be anywhere from 15 to 25 there. Then, from there, we got to kind of make the team work. But I think that's big.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, the reason that Deshaun Watson is such a large chunk of the cap, his contract was fully guaranteed.
Right.
His cap hits are like 50, 60 million per. Jordan Love's this year, obviously somewhere around 12 million. There may be some incentives there as well. If he signs a new deal, even if he becomes the highest paid quarterback.
In the hobby, it's not easy of being a fan of ripping packs or repacks. We always hype ourselves up thinking we're going to get some kind of a mint signed Jordan Love card or something. But with zero transparency on available cards and hit rates, it's all just a shot in the dark. That is until now. Introducing slab packs from arenaclub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Now when I buy slab packs on Arena Club, I finally feel like I know what I'm getting. I don't know if you saw the video me and my son did. That was us on arenaclub.com looking for new cards for my kid. Still on our YouTube channel. You should check it out. They have an incredible website. Slab packs are way better than mystery packs. Immediately after your pulls, they put your cards safe in a vault. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club's got the card collection platform that you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. That is a crazy offer. 10% off a $400 slab pack. That's $40 right there. Anyways, that's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase. What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
It next year will probably jump to somewhere between 25 and 35 million cap hit. Then the next year you'll take a leap, which we did that exercise before. But yeah, the Cleveland Browns are just going to Cleveland Brown, man. That's right. God Almighty, what a horrible.
Well, that's why Amari's upset. Where's all the money?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
A quarter of it went to one player is the problem. That's why I liked looking at that percentage last night. The only one that was, crazy was Kenny, and he still didn't break 30 million.
Yeah, so how many snaps did Deshaun Watson play last
week?
Yeah, because he got hurt quick, right? And it wasn't even like, okay, he got hurt. It took them forever to figure out what the problem was, too. They didn't even know how severe it was, right? Mm-hmm. And, and listen, those are the things that Goody's worried about, too, with Jordan. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why you got to try to save as much money as you can. I understand that aspect. I'm just sitting here. Again, I don't want to harp on it again because we spent a lot of the show last night, which we got great feedback, and that's awesome. But I'm going, man, the price keeps going up every single week, it seems like. So get it done, get it out of the way. It's like literally you got that credit card balance. All right, let's pay it off. Now let's wait till next week. It's going to cost you a little bit more if you wait till next month with that interest rate there.
That's fair. That's fair. But I was texting you guys. The only thing I think is maybe Goody already planned all along to pay him 60 and was like, all right, man, as long as the credit card doesn't get out of hand, I got $5,000 to pay it off. But right now we're at 4,000. I got a little bit of time to get, I can let this play out a little bit if I want. So
where
I think that's maybe where he's, kind of just dancing around.
Yeah,
and it's tough though when you have so many good receivers, right? Like this is a good problem to have. I mean, clearly, J Money is the priority right here. But looking ahead, Clayton, you bring up a good point, man. How do we keep this stable of receivers that we have intact over the long run? It's going to be tough.
And I had a couple people quote tweet me and stuff and respond and go, it's way too early to be talking about this. Okay, I got you. That's what we do here in the off season. We're not going to talk about our favorite toppings on bologna sandwiches. We're going to be talking about what we try to do. And the reason we named it Total Access is we try to look at it from the team's perspective. Right now, Goody isn't sitting back going, yeah, we got some off time. He's looking at every scenario for 2025. He's trying to figure out, all right, what's the path to success? Where can we cut on the cap? Where can we get good bang for our buck? Okay, who can we extend and do it in a way that's going to save us on cap long term? All these things they're evaluating right now, and that's why we try to hit on them. And again, it's
his receiving. It's tough.
Again, I don't want to be that guy, but it's typically the casual fans that get pissed off that you're talking about that stuff. And it's like, okay, man, go look. There's plenty of people doing Star Wars reviews and stuff. You know what I mean? Go hang out there.
If you want tour reviews, we can do tour reviews. That's not a problem.
We got plenty of those. Ron Sample in the chat said Watson will change some minds this year. That's what I want to hear, Ron. And here's the thing. We know Watson doesn't listen to this silly little show, but I guarantee you Watson doesn't hear his name mentioned as much as he wants to. That dude's going to come out ready to ball out this year, too. These guys are going to be highly motivated.
He's coming up into 2024 like,
who do you think you are? I am.
I hope at the end of the season, Watson had a season that Clayton here has to go, I don't care, give him $35 million. You know what I mean? I hope he has that kind of year. I really do.
If Love spreads the ball around, man, everyone's at 800, 900 yards. That would be ideally the best scenario for Green Bay. If they're trying to pay these wide receivers, we like their production. They can, there's potential of them breaking 1,000-yard season. Let's sign them all once they're on that third year. The problem right now is that we can't give them a deal already, or else I feel like Goody would have given Romeo a nice little deal, get him locked up, ready to roll. Hey, Jordan, we got, a lineup. Christian, once you come back healthy this year, we'll get you taken care of, in the offseason next year. But crazy.
Greg Rice says, wipes away a tear because of Clayton's tech skills. They grow up so fast. This is my favorite. M. Smitty said, oh, come on, Clayton. We talk about cannolis all the time. So that's a fair point, Smitty. Fair point.
No, his tech skill has gotten better, though. Couple of crash courses, and we were off.
Yeah. Get a couple daddy sodas and you get creative over here. You go, that's what that button does. Okay.
We were getting creative.
Yeah, Fred McFarley said Miami paying $58 million plus for their top two. And those are two what I think are legit number one receivers. And again, you guys know I always got to use this preface. When I say number one receiver, I'm not saying that dude that tilts the field. I'm saying they grade out in the top 32 across the NFL. Like, okay, that is a starting caliber number one receiver in that regard. I think those days of that's the number one that tilts the field, just throw the ball, chuck and duck, throw it up to that dude, Randy Moss, T.O. I think those days are kind of gone, to be honest with you. People have tried to recreate it with your DK Metcalfs and guys like that, but obviously it hasn't really panned out that way. Professor Cake says, and remember, Mike Evans did most of those numbers with bum quarterbacks. That's a crazy one. Not counting his Brady years, obviously.
That's why I started that one. That's spot on.
It's a great.
I mean, Brady was probably the best quarterback he's ever played with, right? And then to still consistently get his numbers, like put some spec on his name. You can say what you want about Mike Evans, but that dude is a gamer for sure.
So by the time year 3 comes around for Romeo and Christian, and then Tay and Jaden Reed, what are we going to be pushing? 60, 70 million roughly in the wide receiver room.
Yeah.
Roughly. Could we get them all locked up for 15 apiece?
Maybe.
It might be 16, 18 for Christian Romeo, and then maybe 12, 14. But if we get the production out of Wicks and Reed, we're not going to be able to keep everybody.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, the key to keeping that cap hit down is to go to them early. Now, the problem with that is you're kind of forfeiting that one extra year you've got on that rookie deal.
Right.
We haven't seen – you always got to mention precedent. And speaking of precedent, we haven't seen Goody do that yet, right? We haven't seen him go, okay, flush that fourth year on the – let's go ahead and get this deal done right now, especially 2 years out. But it's just trying to project and go, okay, what do we got coming up? But let's look at the wide receivers, all right, for the Packers. And, when I read that comment about Christian Watson, or when I heard that comment by Wildy about Christian Watson being bright, he can line up everywhere. Again, these numbers, guys, I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm not trying to say this guy's bad. I'm simply learning this stuff as I go to. That triggered a thought in my mind, like, I wonder who actually lined up in the slot and had success. I wonder who actually lined up wide and had success, because we've done all the chalk talks. We're doing the review, which we'll do Tampa here soon. And it's like it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So when you go to SIS, Sports Information Solutions, and you actually look at the hard data, this is what you've got here. Now, keep in mind, they don't mention flyer. So at the snap of the ball, if the receiver is in between the Z and the tight end, or the X and the tight end, that's going to be considered the slot. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Here's how they lined up in the slot, and here are the stats. It's going to be a little bit hard to read, but I wanted to keep all the information on screen here for that very reason. All right, so when you go and we sorted receiver rating, which is passer rating when targeted, okay, Dontavian Wicks, these are all slot snaps, okay? These are only the snaps in which these players line up in the slot. In the slot, Dontavian Wicks, 139.5 is basically the passer rating when targeted out of the slot. Now, keep in mind, 41 targets is third most, I believe. Third most on the team. So Tay Wicks absolutely dominating out of the slot.
There's a guy.
Look at number 2, guys. Only 15 targets.
Right.
But Bo Melton in the slot. Now, keep in mind what we talked about, going speed to 3. But if you're in a base set or you go a 2x2 set, you're putting that speed in the slot too. You're kind of trying to accomplish the same thing while flexing the Y on the opposite side. Jaden Reed, number 3 at 119.8. Still a great number. Malik Heath, 95.0. Romeo Doubs, 94.4. Christian Watson in the slot was a 54.7. Now, not very successful at all. 32 targets out of the slot, too. So keep that in mind. Etta said, are you really talking bad about Christian Watson right now? So, again, I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm just simply showing here are the numbers. Here are the results. The other thing I want to point out on this, guys, go back to the top of Dontavian Wicks. Look at his broken tackle plus missed tackle per reception. 32.3% of the time he's breaking a tackle, forcing a missed tackle on out of the slot. That is a wild stat right there, guys. Wild stat. So if you were to just go off of passer rating when targeted, okay, which is receiver rating, you would say, okay, on your depth chart, number 1 slot receiver on the team, Dontavian Wicks. Number 2, Bo Melton. Number 3, Jaden Reed. I'm not saying I agree with that just as a generality, but that is what the statistics show from receiver rating standpoint. What do you guys think about that? Does that catch you off guard? Because it definitely caught me off guard.
Yeah, I think the fact that Wicks is up there, we knew he was a dog, but seeing it like this, kind of really solidifies that. But looking at the targets, Wicks had 40, Jaden Reed had the most at 62. Then the second most targets was actually Romeo Doubs, and then Christian Watson. So I like to see how, they're performing with their volume. Obviously, Bo Melton only had 15, but I would probably say, Tay, Jaden Reed, then it even surprises me that Malik Heath had 20 reps in there. So either we're only running Bo outside for his speed, or those reps inside for Malik Heath were good ones. But I just can't even describe how lucky we are to have this wide receiver room, because we're nitpicking, minute things that they're all, kind of excelling in.
Yep. And every single one of these guys is effective in the slot. Every single one. I mean, even Toure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to kind of see And look at the first down percentage, man, for Wicks. 80% of the time in the slot. 80% of the time he gets a first down out of the slot. It's just like every
80% of the time it works every time.
When you see those numbers, it's just like, holy cow, look at his yards per route run out of the slot, right. 12.6.
Well, 10 yards a pop per catch, average depth of catch for 10 yards a pop and average depth of target at 11. That's first down city, right?
Now, again, remember the question, the poll we started with here. Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, which one would you pay $20 million, or would you rather, or do you think, no, neither of them are worth it? From a slot standpoint, I think I would be like, okay, I'd rather have Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, then maybe Romeo, and then Bo Melton, then Christian Watson out of the slot. So
let me see their blocking percentage, Clayton. Then I'll tell you how much we're paying them.
I bet you would like to see that, you wild man. Ron Sample in the chat says, when they line up in the bunch, how do they call the slot? So when they're in a bunch, most of the time in the bunch set, they've got the Y attached to the bunch. That's Matt LaFleur. Now you'll see the bunch nub sets that we talked about, right? That's when it's 3 wide receivers. But when you go with that bunch set and the Y's there, obviously the slot receiver is going to be in between the Z and in between the Y, which is the tight end, right? So I imagine when they go a bunch set and it's all 3 wide receivers, the number 2 is what they're referring to as the slot. That's the way I would take it, okay? Because typically the number 2 is the slot. And what I mean by number 2 is if you count outside in, right? The receiver closest to the sidelines is the 1, the next is the 2, then the next one is the 3. And when you go a quad set, obviously you'll throw a 4 in there as well. Quad just simply being 4 wide receivers on one side of the field. So that's a little more rare, although we've seen in Chalk Talk, Matt LaFleur broke that out several times last year. So that's your slot numbers, all right? Now, what about lining up wide? Same exact thing. We're going to sort it by passer rating, when targeted, okay? And here's what you got. When the receivers line up wide, Jaden Reed, 102.7, Romeo Doubs, 99.6, Bo Melton, 97.4, Christian Watson, 84.4. Much better number right there. Look at Wicks. Malik Heath, 63.5. Wicks, 60.9. And then Samori Toure, 47.9. So you see, Wicks isn't near as effective when he's lined up wide. That's your slot receiver, guys. And the other guy that many of the media, now they change their tune and they act like they always thought this, which is crazy because as soon as they drafted Jaden Reed, it's like, oh, he's going to be a slot. He's going to be a slot. He's going to be a slot. And when we watched the college tape, what did we say? Man, he lined up in the Z a large majority of the time.
Right.
They even mentioning him in the slot. It's crazy. So here you've got Jaden Reed. Again, it completely transferred over from college with him playing Z, right? So that's his spot. If you go off of these numbers, and again, Romeo Doubs being lined up wide, a large majority of his snaps. You see there, 53 snaps, more than double anyone else on the team, him lined up wide. He is your boundary X receiver, period, case closed. So Romeo Doubs in the X, Dontavian Wicks in the slot, Jaden Reed in the Z. That's what these numbers are suggesting. The odd man out, I hate to say it, is Christian Watson. But your all's thoughts on that? Just in general, all the numbers together.
Well, you go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have, bottom line.
It
right?
is. Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, yeah, Scoot might be the odd man out, but not by much. And, I just look at this list of talent that we have. And, maybe, we talk about, how do we keep everybody? Well, maybe Goody's intention was not to do that at all.
Exactly.
It's just let me get all these kids in here. Let's go young. Let's go talent. Let's develop. And then, whoever emerges as the front runners are going to be the core of guys that we're going to keep long term. But I don't think, he thought for a second that we'd be able to keep, all of these guys together over the long haul. It'd be nice to see them, win a ring or two together. But I think time will tell. Like we said earlier, this season is pivotal, especially for guys like Rome and Christian Watson, for sure.
Yeah, Tim, I think that's a great point because maybe wide receiver is the new offensive line position for Goody, where he's going to be rotating into 1-2 a draft. It's just it's one of those things where we're always going to be taking a wide receiver because we just need to keep recirculating. If they come in with all these skills and all this talent this young, why are we going to force it? Everybody knows what the route tree is. You got all your numbers. You know what your route is. You just need to learn the offense, and we're off. If you can catch the ball and run, we're on the move. But looking at Bo and Christian, you can clearly tell their average depth of catch is deep routes, right? That's why we have them on the outside. And I think that kind of ties into what Prince was saying here, saying take Watson off the field and those other receivers' numbers will change. That's
great. That's a great point.
That's where I was heading, because the fact that they're, besides Samori with the deep bomb, the fact that they're pulling the defense deep every single time opens up Romeo Doubs underneath. He had, 53 or 63 catches, and his average depth of target was 12 yards, but his catches were 8 yards. He's catching them, below the sticks, making a move, getting down, getting north and south sort of thing. It's so big to have that speed threat on the outside to stretch the defense, or else none of that inside will open up.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's move on to one of the key statistics when it comes to the wide receiver room, and that is third downs, right? And this is put up or shut up here, right? Key statistic here. On third downs, Packers wide receiver room, this is, again, lined up pretty much everywhere to the best of my knowledge here, okay? Third downs, receiver rating, passer rating when targeted, Dontavian Wicks, 141.3. Bo Melton, 122.9. Only 10 targets, but still 122.9. Romeo Doubs, 107.3. Malik Heath, 90.8. Jaden Reed, 89.3. Christian Watson, 74.7. Samori Toure, 22.2. So when it comes to third downs, your go-to guy as far as, and again, I'm not saying this is how it'll be moving forward. It's just simply going off of the statistics from last year. Your most effective receiver on third down was Dontavian Wicks. We got to get this guy on the field, fellas. We got to.
I look at that 93.8% on target catch percentage for Rome stands out big time.
Big time, man. He's and again on third down, you've seen it over and over. His hands are just so strong. He to me, he is just the perfect fit for boundary X, man. He really is. And obviously that's what LaFleur has seen too. So I'm trying to take notes over here because I don't want to forget this stuff.
And I also, to that point, I love that Romeo's, top 3, I think, in each of these targets. Jordan Love trusts him. He's going to look his way. He's got 20. He's second here. I think he was first in the other one and then maybe third in the other one. So he's going to be a high volume target that Jordan loves. I think that we need to, keep that into consideration. Where is he successful? Definitely on the outside. I think that looking at those numbers, say, hey, we got Tay Wicks and Reed in the middle, or in the slot. But then you go back to it. Jaden Reed had the most targets on the outside or on third down anyway. So we got athletes all over, and we're lucky. Yeah.
Tim, anything else stick out to you on this third down before we move on, Bub?
No, just Rome's on target catch percentage.
Yeah. It's about as sure. Yeah. Just want to mention that one more time.
I want to mention that again.
And, you look at Jaden Reed, too. He's second best on the team, even though the passer rating when targeted was down. But, on target. And here's the other thing we need to mention about Christian Watson. To give again, this isn't a Christian Watson bash fest. That's not the goal here. We're just simply looking at the data. Also, remember in the first half of the season, Jordan Love forced the ball to Christian Watson so much. That is not Christian Watson's fault. Right? If he's covered and you're just throwing into coverage, these numbers, obviously the receiver rating, passer rating when targeted is going to be down if you're throwing into coverage, right? He just hit the open guy. You could tell.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
he was the guy that Jordan Love was looking for constantly. And as the season went on, you start moving the ball around a little bit more. And obviously Romeo Doubs becomes that guy that I feel like he trusts the most, he and Jordan Love, which is a good thing.
Looking at this last thing, Clayton, before you get off the screen, first down percentage, we're looking at third down numbers, right?
Yep.
First down percentage, we have 3 in the hundreds, and it's not, I mean, Christian Watson had almost 20 catches on third down. I don't.
Yeah, 19 targets, and I'm trying to see where they don't have the catches listed.
So 19 targets, but every target, I mean, he was in first down percent. We got 3 there, and then we have everybody else we have 2 in the, 1 in the 90s, 1 in the 80s, and then 270s. So
I see what you're saying there. So basically, Christian Watson first down percentage is 100%, but keep in mind the completion percentage is 42.1. So on third downs, when he caught a ball, he's getting that first down.
Right? Exactly.
But it only happened less than 50% of the time. At 42.1.
Right.
So the way I take that, and the data gets so in depth over at SIS, sometimes you can kind of get lost in it. So hopefully, we're explaining this well enough on the podcast, and we'll give a quick recap of what we're coming up with. So. That third down number, again, Dontavian Wicks sticks out. He's hands down the best slot receiver as far as a performance base goes from last year. It's Dontavian Wicks. On third down, it's Dontavian Wicks. So I said, I wonder how he stacked up in the NFL on third down. Check this out, guys. Third down. Now look at the targets, okay? The top 3 guys, only 2 targets, 7 targets, 2 targets. All right, then it goes 12 targets, 15 targets, 46 targets, 7, then 20 with Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks on third down amongst all receivers in the entire NFL, Dontavian Wicks was not the best in the league. If you remove the 7, the 7, the 2, the 7, the 2, what is that, 5? So that means he would jump all the way to number 4 in the National Football League as far as success, receiver rating, passer rating when targeted on third downs in the entire NFL. That blew my mind. Now, also focus on the broken tackle plus missed tackle per reception. He would be third best in the league, with one of those being only 2 targets. If you removed it, he'd be second highest, actually third highest because of Nico Collins. And the reason I said earlier, remember that name Nico Collins, Tim? Nico Collins just got the bag in Houston, right? They just gave him a huge contract. It shows you Dontavian Wicks is doing special things. I mean, like it's – I thought we would come out of here going, oh, okay, these guys are kind of even. The for me was no, Dontavian Wicks. Granted, maybe he didn't have as many targets as some of the other guys on the team. This dude is a freaking dog. Like he was showing like I'm trying not to get overly excited, and there is such a thing as a sophomore slump, and maybe he'll hit that this year a little bit.
No, never. Not happening. Not with him. No way.
Bro. He's a stud.
No way. If there's a guy that's not as oblivious and immune to the sophomore slump, it's Tay Wicks. That guy's put in too much work this offseason. I don't think he's stopped since our season ended last year. He's continuing to work. Like we said the other day, it looks like he put on 10 pounds of muscle. Doing a lot of off-season training, working with Jaden Reed, and Tay Wicks is going to be a monster. We talk about last season. Wait till we see this year out of this kid. It's going to be fire.
Heck yeah.
Right.
Go ahead, Emilio.
Well, the fact that he was a basketball player before all this, and he's just able to turn it on. He is an elite athlete that we are just seeing it's just getting peeled open right now. The dude is going to excel, like Tim was saying, and we need to keep an eye on him because I think that could be the number 1 wide receiver money coming our way if these numbers keep up, and then maybe everybody else would fall in line.
All right, we got a full product review here. I'm not going to turn the camera on, but Mandy just slipped in here and brought some pizza in. She said it's maple butter bacon pizza. No, apple butter bacon pizza. I mean, you got to be pretty high to try that, right? Let's be real.
I'm not a doctor.
Let's give it a shot. And I'm telling you right now, I can hear angels singing.
I can smell the bacon through the camera.
That's why Lincoln was barking.
That's exactly right. That's money. I know people are getting tired of me eating on camera, but I don't care, to be honest with you. So We got the camera off. It's all right. So there's your third down numbers. I thought that was really cool with Dontavian Wicks. So as we wrap up this little segment here, which I got that jaw of bacon in now, or a jaw of backer in, rather.
Yeah, that's what it is.
This is what I come up with from the study. Your X receiver is Romeo Doubs. Your Z is Jaden Reed. Your slot is Wicks. And, well, that's a hell of a number 4 wide receiver to have coming off the bench with Christian Watson. And not that you would want him on the bench because like the people in the chat pointed out and you guys pointed out, when he's on the field, he's opening things up from underneath. But that's it. To me, I lean toward Doubs would be the one I would give the money to, but not to the tune of $20 million per, me personally. I'd rather just roll forward with Wicks and Reed and the rest of the depth and anyone you add and just save on that cap money for another 2 years. Right? So,
I mean, there could be a scenario where there's no receivers making $20 million a year.
Right.
You know?
True.
That's what I was saying earlier, Tim, was if we're at 70 million, 60 to 70 million for the receivers, how can we break it up between 2, 3, or 4? Ideally, I don't think there's any way we can pay 5 of them. There's just not enough to go around. And at some point, are they going to decide, hey, I want to be a part of this team for, the love of the game and wanting to chase the Lombardi, or do I want to be able to make absolutely the most amount of money I possibly can? And that's up to them. Go get your money if you want to get it. That's fine. That's not a problem at all. If you're that much of an elite athlete and, you play that well, more power to you.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we were going to talk a little bit of defense, but we may just carry that over to tomorrow because we're at the 47-minute mark. Chat was absolutely lit up. We appreciate y'all. The thing I was going to hit on, we'll hit on it tomorrow for sure. One of the things that when Wildy was on with Jen, Gabe, and Chewy being Mark Chimura, you guys know the great tight end from the 90s, played for the Packers.
Not Chewy in the chat.
Not Chewy in the chat, although he is my favorite Chewy. But Mark Chimura. Mark Chimura basically said that he had heard, and maybe you guys heard it too, and I just completely missed it. He said he heard Hafley say that the tape showed that the defense played lazy last year, right? And that really kind of got me like, whoa, okay. So that's what we seen, right, Tim, on the tape. When you see the linebacker just sitting back and late to the point of attack. And then you go out and get Edgerrin Cooper, who honestly, definitely at the linebacker position was probably the most aggressive player in the draft, the way he attacked the run. So we'll hit on a little bit of that tomorrow. And we got a really cool Carl Brooks statistic. So we'll tease y'all with that just a touch. So, that being said, let's get ready to wrap this thing up, man. Parting thoughts. Anything else you guys wanted to hit on? Did I miss anything? I thought this was a really cool little exercise here to kind of see, who stood out with the wide receiver position. To me, the end result or the assessment is we're in pretty good shape at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, Clayton, let me get your take on this. Did you listen to the GM shuffle today?
I did. Yeah. What
is your take on Michael Lombardi not taking shots at Matt LaFleur,
but no,
he was aggressively saying that Matt only coaches the offense and doesn't coach up character within the team, sort of thing.
I didn't, and I could have misheard it. I didn't take it as he didn't coach up character in the team. I took it as he's not focused on the defense. He's just focused on the offense.
Okay.
And the way Michael Lombardi kind of looks at head coaches is like you can have a head coach title, but you're not truly the head coach if you're not in control of everything in the organization, right? From on the football field. I think that's a fair assessment.
Right.
But the way he reacted to Matt LaFleur being mentioned as the number 5 best coach in the league,
right?
That pissed me off. I won't say it pissed me off because this is personal opinion, but I went, nah, I got to disagree there, man.
That's exactly how I took it. It kind of caught me off guard how much he was going at him, but basically it was like, Matt LaFleur, all he does is call plays on the offense. How is he a top 5 coach when you got Jim Harbaugh, 8, 9, or 10, whatever he was?
John, he was talking about John.
I'm sorry, John. And then the fact that he thinks that all Matt does is call plays. I don't think. My take. I don't think particularly the case. Matt was in the defensive meetings. Matt has At first when Matt got here, yeah, he was probably all about the offense. That's all I was focusing on. We still got 12. We're still trying to hammer out this. Now he understands that the team is young. You don't think he has to spread his, not his control, but his aura across the team. He needs to make sure that everybody is on the same page, that everybody understands, that there is a leadership to it. You got your captains, and you go up to your coaches, and you go up to the head coach. Then, and he's taking care of all of it, right? Him and Goody are taking care of the players that are coming onto the team that Matt needs to coach. So I think it was just a little bit of a hot take from Lombardi, but it was cool to hear the actual, vigor he had about Matt. Like, no, he doesn't think it's it, but I think Matt is going to prove it again that he's a winning head coach, and this team's got it, and he can handle not only offense but defense and special. And
he's talked about Matt many times, like talking about him being a play caller and a great play caller.
Right.
Like, and there is a difference. Like, you've got some coaches that are motivators. You've got some coaches that are play callers. You got you got to understand too. Michael Lombardi comes from the old school. Like
Tomlin,
he came up through Bill Walsh.
Right.
Okay. Bill Walsh had control over everything in the organization. Right. He came up through Al Davis. Al Davis, to a fault, had control over everything. Bill Parcells, he kind of comes from that Bill Parcells coaching tree. And, of course, the great Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was literally meeting with Tom Brady every single week and putting an offensive game plan together. See, like Matt LaFleur, while he was coaching the defense too, Matt LaFleur isn't coaching the defense at that level.
Right, that's fair.
That's the way I took Michael Lombardi's comment. Right. But for him to be kind of emphatic that Matt LaFleur isn't the fifth best coach in the league, do I think Matt LaFleur is above John Harbaugh? I can't do that because John Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl ring.
Right.
And I'm very boring in that regard. But I did also like the way he defended Mike McCarthy. Like, both of them. They were like, how is Mike McCarthy, whether people like him or not, Mike McCarthy is a Hall of Fame coach, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like, his winning percentage, he's got a Super Bowl ring. He's
done it with two separate teams.
Rejuvenated Dak's career. Look at that's the thing that pissed me off the most about when everybody ran McCarthy out of town was they act like he had nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers would not be Aaron Rodgers without Mike McCarthy because he went through McCarthy's quarterback camp and McCarthy would drop hints and stuff like this kid don't know how good he could be. Like talking about Aaron Rodgers. And then of course Aaron Rodgers got too big for his britches and all of a sudden McCarthy's just this big stupid idiot, doesn't know what he's talking about, right? But
the other thing to remember in this conversation too about LaFleur is this is why Coach B was promoted to assistant head coach. So you've got Coach Bisaccia, that's a special team guy and a defensive minded dude. You've got a head coach that's clearly the quarterback whisperer. He's an offensive minded guy. He is a offensive play calling juggernaut. He's just an absolute machine when it comes to calling these plays. So I think it's a scenario where it's like, let the guys do their best at what they do best. And, the head coach, it's an all encompassing role. You're supposed to coach that entire team, but there's a reason why they have the amount of staff that they have. And there's other guys that coach these position groups. And so I think Coach Bisaccia, kind of being that right-hand man to Matt LaFleur and can kind of be that go-between the different personnel groups and both sides of the ball is just going to help Matt become a better coach. And that's evident even in the last year. Like we saw the way we turned it around last season after kind of a little bit of a rocky up and down kind of start. We stormed into the playoffs. So Tupac LaFleur deserves respect. I'm just going to put it right there. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
What I want I just want him to stay quiet and just keep winning ball games.
Yep.
And watch that win percentage continue to go up and up and up. Next thing you know, they're going to look up and go, damn, he's in the top 5 in win percentage.
Because what I was going to, didn't Michael, or might not have been him, but you gotta let the people in their positions do their jobs.
Right.
That can't be in every room at once. He can't be in the linebacker meeting and the DB meeting and the wide receiver meeting all at once. You got to have some faith in the coaching staff. The only other thing I was going to add, Clayton, was when he was talking about how I think how Trevor Lawrence got the money or whatever, but the fact that leadership, you create leadership, but you have to create a following to do that. And that's what Jordan Love has done to get that following for this team. So that's why they need to look at that. But Matt has done that as well. Bringing that full circle, Matt has shown the leadership of what we want this team to be, what we're going to strive for each year, and where he's taking this team driving wise. You've seen that after the game, like video clips from when he first started to now.
Oh yeah.
It's night and day. It's night and day.
Definitely. And what he was saying is, leader, your level of leadership is how many people are actually following you.
Right.
How many people are right. I also heard it said another way, if I can remember. I'm sure I'll butcher it, but it was leadership is the direct reflection of how many people are better off with you in their life. Their quality of life has increased because you're a small part of their life. That's when you're a real leader, right? And sometimes that just, not to get sentimental, but sometimes it just means being a good friend, you know what I mean? Like you can be a friend and still be helping lead someone because you're simply there, and their life is better because you're in it. Period. Case closed. Mm-hmm. I like Lombardi. I don't always agree with him. The reason I find myself defending Michael Lombardi are all the knuckleheads on Twitter, Hambubger679, who's got 17 followers, going, this guy's a moron. I'm going, he spent 40 years in the NFL, has studied under 4 different Hall of Fame coaches, and you're going to tell me he's a moron?
Yeah.
He's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, he said he's just a kid trying to chase a piece of cake. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. M. Smitty agreed with you just a second ago. He said a good leader knows how to delegate. That's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
A couple other chats here, and we'll get out of here. I like Chris Natch says, still waiting on that Meat Missile Award week 1. So we're going to have to give out a Meat Missile Award every week this year.
Does Jacob pick it, or does Jacob have the final say?
I think Jacob gets to pick it. Or maybe we put like a poll up.
Yeah.
Top 4 like defensive players. All right. It could be anyone, really. Look at Tim doesn't like this idea. Tim, you don't like the Meat Missile Award? That's a no for those of you on the pod. All right.
I don't even want to say it. I think I'm the only one on the pod who hasn't actually said it.
Hang around. We'll get you. Don't worry about it. Chris Nash says, I think that would only be the right thing to do, Ron. We all get a vote for Meat Missile Award. Put it on X and hashtag that poopy. Hashtag Meat Missile. There you go. All right. Angus Angus McHaggis said McCarthy making Favre do OTAs in his second year was worthy enough of a Packers Hall of Fame spot. I agree.
Yes.
He really came in and shook things up. Blake B89 said McCarthy has a street named after him in Green Bay. Enough said. Mic drop. There it is.
One of the best streets, too, if you're hanging around training camp. Mike McCarthy Way, that's the spot to be, man.
That's just because you haven't seen. They're actually building the LaFleur Drive, but it just hasn't been finished yet. So don't worry, that's coming in the next few years.
Tupac LaFleur Lane. I think that'll be. It's got a nice ring to it.
I like it. I'll tell you, man. That True International to Pressure just broke me up.
Dude, you lost me right there.
We got to have the True International to Pressure Award.
we got to get the Trump one where he goes, I am the chosen one. We got to get that one too. Oh, man. I'll tell you what, man. You could take our presidential debates and our election every 4 years and literally say, no, this isn't a real election. It's just a reality show. I would be convinced. I'd be like, these, yeah.
True
absolutely.
Under pressure.
Yeah, correct.
Do some research on Rome.
He tried so hard on that soundbite, bro.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
One more time, Jim.
The question is, what the hell is he trying to say?
True international under pressure.
I don't know what he was trying to say, but
I think what he was trying to say, I'm going to be honest, I think he was trying to say true international diplomacy in the face of pressure. I think is what he was trying to say.
He's been studying this, Emilio. Look at it.
And instead it came out.
True international under pressure.
He's got a whiteboard and all these different things drawn on it, like I think what he's actually trying to say. Oh my God.
Read it again.
It sounded like Uncle Bill after a couple Budweiser ponies is what it sounded like. I'm just saying.
That's fair. That's actually fair. That's going to be Clayton tonight. Friday night under the lights. Under the lights of the pool.
Under the lights of the apple butter bacon pizza. This is unbelievable, guys. Remember what I said?
He's gonna get woken up at 11:30 by Lincoln licking his ear, trying to get. Let's go, bro.
Set on your breath, bro. Man. All right, y'all got anything else, fellas?
True international average of pressure.
Do some research on Rome.
All right, there you go. There's your homework tonight. I'll tell you, do some research on this too.
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
I do eat them though.
Absolutely. All right, guys, appreciate y'all hanging out. Emilio, thanks for going live with us over at Home Depot. Always
anytime I can.
Yeah.
Let's get her back in the picture there.
There you go. Tim, you got anything, bro?
No, man. Just looking forward to doing it again tomorrow.
Heck yeah. We'll probably be back in the morning for a college football pod around 9 a.m. Eastern. That's 8 a.m. Central. And then we'll do another PTA live tomorrow night. So that's kind of the plan right now. And yeah, we're running from that butt whooping that was the Tampa Bay game, but we're going to get it in, I promise. So we'll get it. But again, thank you guys for hanging out. Really appreciate it. Tim, help me out here, man.
For those of you listening on the pod,
Jacob here in spirit. Thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Go Pack, go.
True international average of pressure.
Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. Yes, our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.